That was
Today on Country Squire Radio, John David cuts in early before I can really kick off the show.
That's really graceful.
We are right here for episode 300 at Missouri Meerschaum. Woo! It's going to be a fun one. We're really excited. Stick around. This is going to be a blast. Are you ready, John David?
I am.
Okay, good. That's important. It is important that you're ready as well. Welcome to Country Squire Radio. I'm Bo.
And I'm John David.
JD.
Hey, Bo. Good afternoon, man.
Good afternoon to you too, sir. How you doing today?
Dude, I'm great. I couldn't be better. We're live at Missouri Meerschaum.
What?
It's fantastic. I know. We're just a few hundred yards here from the Missouri River on the south banks, and man, beautiful Washington, Missouri. It's just stunning around here. You know, I didn't really know. When I think of Missouri, I think of cornfields and pastoral land. It's kind of hilly on this part of the country, you know.
Right,
so we kind of drove from St. Louis over, and just really beautiful, man. The factory here, just a historic location, obviously, that we'll talk about throughout the show. But man, right here on the banks of the river, it's just a beautiful, scenic little town, and man, we're just thrilled to be here, man. It's been a lot of fun.
It's a huge honor, and of course, like you mentioned, we'll talk about it later in the show. But not only is this a celebration of 150 years of Missouri Meerschaum, it's 150 years of the corncob industry. And that's really, really something to be in kind of such a historic location that's had such an impact on the industry that we know and love is amazing. And of course, for us, it's additionally special because here we are on our 300th episode of Country Squire Radio.
This is our 300th episode, and it's kind of amazing that these people have been long suffering enough to deal with this, right?
Actually,
I don't know how many brain cells. I can't wait to ask Phil how much he thinks the value of his company has gone down since he let us in the front door.
I know. That's probably that's probably plummeted. We should mention that we wanted to do it up big. We wanted to do something special for 300, and so not only are we here at Missouri Meerschaum, but we're also here with kind of a live audience. Give a shout out, guys. Yeah, thank y'all so much for coming out, and thank y'all for everybody that's tuning in live right now at countrysquireradio.com. And to those of you who have been long suffering over these last couple of weeks where we haven't actually had a YouTube video, I would like to say this is our grand triumphant return to YouTube, and it is for today. So what's up, everybody? Glad to see y'all.
Eventually.
Yeah. Well, so this is the third time, obviously, that we've done a centennial episode. Centennial, that's right, or is that? That's right.
It is today.
It is today.
Yeah.
This is the third time we've done kind of this type of special episode. And this is really kind of a chance for us to kind of take one for us, right? I mean, we do our best to make sure that we are giving you guys excellent, deep pipe related content on a weekly basis, diving into all kinds of topics. And we always want to make sure that we're really presenting you guys with something of value. And we also try to make sure that we consider that every single episode is somebody's first episode. Well, this is episode 300, where we're celebrating 300 episodes of Country Squire Radio. I'm going to break a rule and say, if this is your first time listening, don't go back, listen to a different episode. This might
but
not
don't
be
start at the beginning, because it gets kind of rough back there.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that multiple times.
Somewhere in the mid 200s, early 200s, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, we kind of hit our stride a little bit.
That's where it is. That's the sweet spot. But man, this is really exciting. I thought it might be a good opportunity to just reminisce a little bit about where the show's been.
Well, after 300 episodes, I mean, we're talking, how many years has this been, Bo? I mean, did we start in 2013?
We started back in 2013. So we're looking at 6 years. Man, we've been downloaded over 1 million times, which is crazy to me.
1 million downloads.
Yeah, so well over. I mean, it's insane just,
the
fact that so many people have kind of gotten connected. And one of the things that we've heard the most is that people feel this connection with the show because they long for that sense of the Squire, the amazing kind of unique specialness that is the Country Squire itself, the shop, and the community that's there that you are able to inherit and eventually purchase. And you've really kind of cultivated, man. So I just for one thing, I want to tip my hat to you, but also take us back a little bit to the origins of John David at the Country Squire, because really that's the origins of Country Squire Radio.
Yeah. I guess it's funny. I didn't even know, you were going to ask that, but it really is pretty appropriate. I mean, I came to the Country Squire in 2011. I was a seminary student.
That's right.
I mean, I was just, I was like, man, this will be fun. I'm going to seminary. I was studying to be a counselor, actually, and needed a part-time job to pay the bills. And, these sweet, precious old lady that had founded this historic pipe shop back in 1970 with her husband. She took a gamble and hired me, and so I was there just working part time to pay the mortgage and get some spending money and the rest of it. And yeah, and it was amazing. She taught me so much about the industry and about blending in particular, and something that I'd already loved and already been doing for quite a while. Just fell in love with even that much more. And then, of course, after she passed away, about a year later, the family was like, "Well, you're the only guy that can run this thing," and before you know it, that's what I was doing. So yeah, pretty wild. And that's kind of the origin of it. You were kind of going through a transition at the same time also, and talking about, well, maybe we could do this podcast, and we both into pipe smoking, and me being a retailer at the time and kind of trying to figure that out. It just made a lot of sense. So yeah, and
Yeah, I
the
love
rest is history.
retroactively. You say it makes a lot of sense because at
Yep.
the time you were a hard sell.
No,
on
I
doing Country
was.
Squire Radio.
There's a lot about, man, getting in front of a camera, getting in front of a mic, hearing my voice, that is really terrifying to me.
Yeah.
But it's it's obviously grown on me. But I mean, the thing that makes it worth it for me each and every week has been the community that has been built around us and around the show and around our listeners. And it makes it all worth it. The complete terror that I get of getting on mic, every week, it makes it all worth it. Yeah.
Well,
It's so much fun.
It's funny because I do think about like the early days, so to speak, and what people may not realize is if they're kind of newer to the show, is it wasn't always live, but it became live fairly early on. With the sole purpose of making sure that John David would actually show up to record.
That's not inaccurate. Yeah.
Which was always great because now it wasn't me twisting your arm and pressuring you. It was like, no, we've got all these people that are waiting to be here.
I'm telling you, man, I'm not one of these real driven people that could work from home or whatever. The sole fact that I get to work on time every day is the amount of shame that I would get if I did not open my shop.
That's right.
Like one of these old men that wants to come in and get like their pound of Cherokee that they're they've been waiting 45 minutes because they get up that early. They would beat me with their cane like if I showed up late, and frankly I would deserve it. So you're welcome.
I love it. I do think for anybody that's been to New Orleans and the French Quarter, like most all of those businesses, they have like a kind of a maybe we open at this time type deal.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock ish. Yeah,
that's the term.
I thought about changing our hours to 10:15. Opening at 10:15,
right.
Or even the podcast starts at
and then
instead
open
of
at 8:30.
noon. And then you wind up opening at 8:30. So it's just it's not going to work. We've already lost all self-respect.
No, man. But it was a morning show, which is kind of interesting because you are in no way a morning person.
Yeah.
And I am in all ways a morning person, and it made for a really interesting dynamic. But I would try to bribe you. I don't know if you remember this with.
Oh yeah, you like made me breakfast and stuff.
I would try to bribe you with like wild berry Pop-Tarts and and sweet potato biscuits.
Yeah, but y'all are like healthy people, so I'd go over to your house and you'd offer me coffee, but instead of half and half, you want me to put like coconut milk in there or something.
No, it was almond milk. It was vanilla almond milk.
Almonds don't even make milk.
I know, it's weird.
Can you milk an almond?
Apparently. But so over time, of course, we decided to make the transition into the evenings, and of course that came with the series Squire Select. Now, the Squire Select series, for those unaware, is a series where we take various...
It's one of our favorites.
It is definitely one of our favorites.
Yeah.
We take some various whiskeys or scotches or,
That's right.
Beverages in general and pair them up with some various tobaccos. And I would love to say that the idea for that came specifically with kind of this desire to go into, all this like, small batch whiskeys and really kind of connect the two and really tell a beautiful story. But really, it's because John David kept on showing up so late for the morning show that we had to move it to the evening and come up with a good excuse for why we were recording in the evening.
No, that's right.
So then
blame it on Johnny Walker.
Country Squire Radio After Hours, I believe is what we called it.
I think that's right.
Something like that. After dark.
It is amazing. I mean, obviously we've been preparing for episode 300 for a while, but just sitting here, it's kind of bizarre to look back on it. I mean, this wasn't that long ago, but at the same time, it's been several years now, and the show's changed quite a bit. It really has from the very beginning. Doing it live, going into the evening and introducing these new segments that we've done, all the friends that we've made along the way, and man, it's pretty special.
It's amazing. And we actually, speaking of our friends, the show would not be here still today. We definitely could not do it if not for those that have been supporting the show, our amazing patrons over at patreon.com/Country Squire Radio. And when we launched that Patreon account about a year or so ago, we wanted to do something a little bit different. We really wanted to make it something not just, oh, we need your help financially, which we did, but also we wanted to really kind of up the ante a little bit. And so the Country Squire Radio International Pipe Club was born. And to date, we've had over 150 members join the club, and growing, as we've got a couple more names to add to the list in the coming episodes as well.
That's right. Yeah.
But man, it's been amazing to see that support, to hear that support, and just to kind of get to know a lot of those club members too, and like the Squire Lounge, and all the various ways of communication there. When we launched the Squire Lounge online for the club members, it was I was nervous. I'm gonna say that I was nervous about doing that.
You're always nervous about that kind of stuff.
I don't know, man. Something about that one in particular. I'm like, man, we're talking about the most dedicated Country Squire Radio listeners out there. Those are some crazy people. And we're about to start open
they submit themselves to this every week.
Like, these are the guys making memes every week.
No, that's true.
This is the John David Cole over Kim Kardashian with the tobacco going over his shoulder. It's like, we need to make sure we put some parameters.
I'm telling you, this is why I studied therapy. I have there's some resources for people like Mark VV. It is true. It was so great, to build. Kind of continue the growth of that. And of course, these were people that some of whom wound up, coming to my wedding, and they folks that called you when you had your second child and all this kind of stuff. It's that's the amount of dare I say camaraderie or intimacy that we've developed. So it's been great.
It's interesting you mentioned some life events, because I was kind of reminiscing about the fact that over these 300 episodes in 6 years or however it is, like, we've had
some stuff has changed.
We're not the fresh-faced young podcasters that we were back then.
There ain't nothing fresh about it.
Well, that is true. But man, you let's see. During the course of the show, I had my second child. You bought the shop. You got married. I moved out of state, and of course, you got your first kid on the way, which you shared with everybody. I don't know if you intended to last
in
episode.
Chicago, yeah.
That you're having a little girl.
It's gonna be a girl, man. Yeah. We got a little girl on the way, and so. It was great. It's so funny. My wife, she's the strong one, right? She's the left brained, like, let's do it if it makes sense. She's emotional, but has much more maturity than I do. And with the nurse tells us that it's a girl, and I'm just like, ah! And she's like over there, well, okay, let's figure this out. And man, it's been so exciting. To anticipate that.
Oh,
so we're really thrilled.
We're all looking forward to welcoming to the world Katrina Squire Cole. I think that's going to be
child of the covenant. Yeah.
No, y'all have not revealed any names yet or anything like that. But Bo, I know
Squire
Bo is
a
male name, but Belle is a female version of Bo. That could work.
Yeah.
Or Bella, or
Bella,
Boette, or
these sounds like names suspiciously that you might name your Labrador Retriever.
Well, no, I'm talking about your daughter. That's on you for that one. I'll just throw this one out there. Elizabeth of York was the last princess of York, who ended up marrying Henry Tudor to end the War of the Roses. So Elizabeth, I've often said if ever we were to have another daughter, I'd probably go with Elizabeth as a name.
Yeah,
we're not planning on a third one anytime. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's a beautiful name.
All right, I'll let you know.
Man, we've also, we mentioned too, we've got a lot of different series. Squire Select, obviously a really fun one. But over the course of this show, we've got a lot of different series that are reoccurring. Squire Select, Tobacco Talk, Heroes of the Bowl, Pipe Culture, our 101 episodes, and some stuff that we say that we're going to do, and then it's been like 3 years and we still haven't gone back to that well. I feel like the top 3 was such a good idea, and then we just very rarely ever do a top 3.
Yeah, what's up with that? Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, to some extent, I'm fine with that. The whole top 3 culture online, it's very clickbaity.
That's true.
And we try not to be like that. I don't know how Tamp That Ash became the title of an episode. We're not clickbait. We're not like that at all.
It's Tap Dat Ash.
That's what I said.
Tamp Dat Ash.
That's what I said.
Right.
We also, I'm kind of curious though, because I was reflecting over these different series, and Squire Select, obviously a favorite of both of ours. But what would you say is like one of your favorite series? Whenever we go back to it, you're like really excited to dive in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be the Pipe Culture series. Yeah. Because for me, that is so much. It's the romanticism that surrounds what we do, right? And it's the fun part of being in what we do, obviously I love pipes, I love premium tobacco, I love blending and all this other stuff. But the thing that a lot of this leads to is what we see in this room right here. It's the connectivity that happens around that, and it becomes part of people's stories. Pipe smoking is a part of it weaves in and out of folks' fabric, particularly the folks that smoke regularly, and it's a part of their daily ritual or liturgy, as it were. For me, that is the beauty of it, is the effect that it has on the heart and on community. And so yeah, I mean, we love tobacco, we love pipes, but I think the pipe culture episodes, they really kind of point back to why people gravitate towards pipe smoking so much, and it's the good that it does for all of us.
Yeah. No, I love that series too.
Yeah.
And do you remember kind of where that stemmed from?
I really don't. No.
So I was reflecting on
I
this.
try to forget all this stuff.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. But it was completely coming out of like a post-Hobbit world. Like, obviously Peter Jackson with the Hobbit films and Lord of the Rings films did so much for the pipe community.
Brought a lot of new smokers in.
Big time.
Absolutely.
And with the conclusion of, unnecessarily stretching out those Hobbit movies, which, as much as I want to praise Peter Jackson, let's be honest, we didn't need 3 Hobbit movies.
Yeah, I may have watched only one.
Yeah. I mean, I watched them all, so I was dedicated. But with those coming to a close, we knew that there was about to be kind of this, this pop culture. The pipe had been in pop culture because of that. And with that going away, then it wasn't necessarily going to have that kind of pop culture spotlight. And so from kind of our discussions around that, there was kind of this question of, well, what is pipe culture? If we know what pop culture is, what is pipe culture?
Yeah.
And that question alone really spawned what became a series that we were like, you know what? Let's not identify it ourselves, like between the two of us.
Yeah.
Let's put that out there, and let's actually see if, like, as a community, we can identify what pipe culture is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it.
No, they did. Yeah, they did. And that was part of the fun of the reactions.
Yeah.
Or part of the fun of it was getting the reactions and, just seeing how, in some sense it was polarizing, but we got a lot of feedback.
Yes.
And even, the people that appreciated the concept, anytime you put it out there, if we voice an opinion or some, a heavy contingent of our listeners voice an opinion, a lot of times that was balanced out by, a very strong opinion on the other side. So, yeah, I think that's good. It just kind of unpacks why we do what we do. And I think that's part of the fun.
It's been interesting because I think over the history of the show, we've only had 2 real moments where we got some pushback or kind of not just a hey, we hate you, which we very rarely ever get. And if it is, it's more of like, we hate the fact that there's mics in front of your face.
That's a thing.
That
is a thing.
That's been constantly there. Hi, YouTube. Yes, there are mics in front of our face. We're a podcast, so check out the podcast for sure.
That was funny to me. It's so funny just with the live show and the video coming up as kind of a ancillary thing, in relation to the podcast itself. Like, man, people cannot stand these mics in front of our face.
It's twofold. One is the mics in front of our face.
I never saw that coming.
And the other is what you've been struggling to do the entire time we've been recording.
It's fumbling with my pipe.
Smoking your pipe. Yeah, we get a lot of feedback. Like, I really wish you guys would smoke your pipe on the show.
Yeah.
Which almost exclusively, of course, comes from YouTube because people can see us from that standpoint. And while that's great, and we love to smoke at our pipes,
sometimes it makes it a little complicated.
It makes it complicated,
particularly
on a technical
for you.
Level.
You've got all kinds of things to juggle while we do this.
And I still stand by the fact that while there are several listeners that are like, that would not be a problem. Hearing the click of the lighter and hearing the breathe in and that sort of thing, like that wouldn't bother me. I'd love that. I know there's a lot of people where it's like that's almost like a mental tick. Like you hear it, but you can't see it, and that would kind of almost drive you crazy.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, beyond those kind of constant,
everyone's got a thing.
Yeah,
everyone's got a thing.
Beyond those kind of constant feedback, which we do hear and we do listen to, like we never discount any kind of criticism that we get from that standpoint. The only 2 times that we've had like that major pushback has been with the pipe culture, the first pipe culture episode.
Yeah, sure.
Where we even attempted such a thing. And then the other was pretty recently, this last past year, as the industry was being impacted in a significant way.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks came to us after the fact as kind of things were falling out, saying like, you guys, you let us down. They felt like we were either keeping information from them.
Yeah.
Or that
was tough.
Yeah. And that in some way we did not fulfill our mandate by being kind of this almost investigatory journalist type approach to what we do.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting because I've never seen us. I mean, we cover some breaking news from time to time, but we're not necessarily like breaking news. Like that's never really been us.
That's the ESPN sound, actually.
Is that really?
So, yeah. That's where they talk about football and baseball bats and all that kind of stuff.
I knew that.
Yeah, the draft and everything.
ESPN.
No, I think it is interesting, but at the same time, it's an honor because folks, have over the years as we've developed our community, they have seen us as a resource for for news and wisdom and events and things of that nature. So yeah, it was tough, because we weren't really ready in some sense to take on that, but people were just by their familiarity with us and trust, kind of looking to us for some of those things. And so yeah, we've grown and we've learned and made new friends and taken feedback. And man, it's just fun how all this has developed and turned into something that I think you and I both would never have imagined. We laugh, you asked me about, we talk about the origins of Country Squire Radio, and Bo, it's hard to say no to this turkey. Like I need y'all to know that, because it's so funny. Like we go to pipe shows occasionally together, and it's such a good balance, because I'm the guy that's like sitting in the corner like weeping because I don't want to be in these large crowds, and then Bo is the velociraptor that is like flittering around the entire show floor, and it's such a great balance. We really do balance each other out well. But
no, you told me about Chicago this year. I hope it's okay for me to say this, but you were mentioned just because like everybody was coming to talk to you and everything, which is wonderful, and obviously our listeners the opportunity to meet them and everything.
I had to go hide in my room,
and I was like, oh man, I should have been there to like run defense for you, because everybody only kind of wants to talk to me where they really want to talk to
whatever,
me.
man. They were all asking about you, man. It was really neat. But it's funny going back to the early stages. Bo was like, talking about the podcast, and we've mentioned this before, but you had to twist my arm, like you mentioned, to get into this, and I kind of humored you in some sense, because I didn't think it was going to last. Right? I was like,
Right.
well, I mean, we'll try this out, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll see where this goes, but is there really enough content for people to listen to? How are we going to speak about this? Man, every week that's a lot, but man, it just kept going, and it kept getting better and better and refined. And man, I'm just honored, man. I'm so glad you put the screws on me to get this thing done.
Well,
yeah,
man,
it's been fun.
It's funny that you say that it's hard to say no to me, because later in the show, we will see a laundry list of things that you did say no to that I want to share with people when they hear some of the crazy ideas. Well, man, I want to make mention of this. I think it's always interesting to kind of go back and look over the history of the episodes and kind of give a shout out to some of our most popular episodes. I'm kind of curious, actually. So I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to ask our live studio audience, if you had to guess what like our most popular episode, like the biggest episode we ever did was, what would you guess it would be? Pipe shop fails. Got it in one. Yeah. So our pipe shop fails, the second pipe shop fails specifically, was like is our current like largest episode.
So surprising to me, just thinking, I mean, it's literally just a forum for me to gripe about the frustrations of one of the most fun jobs on earth. It's like, you've got this great job, you have no reason to complain, and yet y'all are gracious enough to give me this forum to get on there and talk about Pilgrim Zach, Oh. And the hurricane.
But see, that's what it is, man, because everybody knows, you as a very, very nice, very, oh yeah, y'all coming back now. You hear it, I don't know what that
was very poor.
See, as I ruined everybody else's accent, I just ruined my own way worse.
That was very poor.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, this is a poor effort.
But no, you've got kind of that kindly nature, that kindly tone. People have said, I would listen to John David if he was just reading the phone book or something of that nature. And so you've got that. But then to kind of hear you let your hair down, literally, and kind of go in on like, what really grinds my gears? Like that really resonated with people.
No,
and,
that's good. I'm glad someone got something out of it.
We were nervous about that too. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were. I mean, it was one of those things like, man, there's so many gems of experience that happen around a shop like this, but a lot of it is quirky and in some sense negative, but should be chronicled. Right. I mean, these are things that people need to, especially if they don't have a goofy old tobacconist in their area. Like, this is what you're missing out on. Right. This is the chaos and ridiculousness that you don't get, because you don't live in a place like this. So yeah, we kind of stepped out on a limb, but it was fun.
Yeah. So our next one after that one, the kind of the silver, that's the gold. Our silver episode after that one is actually the future of Peterson. which was also, a high and intense moment for the industry. People
Very
were coming in.
interesting. Yeah, that's the case. Of course, Peterson, went through a big transition here over the past year as they were bought by, the folks that own Law DC. And man, it was just, yeah, interesting to see that people, it's a venerated brand. It's one of those, you know, everyone should have a Peterson in their stable of pipes and all those other things. And yeah, when we started talking about that, folks wanted some resources. So yeah, worked out.
Yeah, it's good. By the way, you're cool. You can ring the bell. It's cool. Not a problem.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Ring the bell back.
Ring the
there.
bell.
Yeah, that's the great thing.
Feels like home.
Yeah,
that's great.
For you, it definitely
does. It feels like home. Yeah.
All right, and then our bronze place for our third place for largest episode. Now, this I find very interesting because I would have never guessed this, but I've got a theory as to why. It was our Baby It's Cold Outside episode, Smoking in Cold Weather.
Really?
Now, here's my thought.
That was number 3?
Yes. The topic is not, it's a good topic. Smoking in cold weather, that's a challenge that a lot of us, especially as we've had to smoke outside more and more.
Yeah, sure.
And while we down south don't have that issue, people up north in particular really have to struggle with that.
Yeah, sure.
Here in the United States. But I think it was actually the clickbait nature of Baby It's Cold Outside as a title. Because if you remember, like last Christmas, like everybody was talking about that song. Like there was like this kind of cultural moment where everybody was unpacking that song.
No, that's true. That's true. There's still some controversy about it, I guess.
Exactly.
My biggest controversy is, why do we sing that in December? We should be singing that in February.
The point is that you're having that conversation. That is funny. But the point is that like people were having that conversation. I think they were just searching Baby It's Cold Outside. So all of a sudden this pipe podcast starts popping up. And, like, people discover us in a unique way from that standpoint.
That's funny.
Some honorable mentions, man. We've got What Makes an English Blend, Life After McClelland. Shortly there followed, or right after, The End of an Era, which those two were kind of together. Smoke Ride, smoking your pipe while driving. And
that's good. Yep.
A big one that continues to be a kind of an entry level podcast for us was Pipe Smoking 101, How to Light Your Pipe.
Yeah. I think that, if there was probably another favorite series that we do, those Pipes 101 episodes are great and fun for me, because that's where I get to, nerd out and, pretend like I know more than someone else, about, how to
that's
start,
why you hang out
right?
with me, right?
No, that's right. Because I feel I have the sense of authority as soon as we enter the room together.
Exactly.
No. It's great because, that's the entry point, right? That's the on ramp for so many folks that get into pipe smoking. And that for me, seeing a new pipe smoker get into it, and then stick with it. That's probably the most satisfying. Yeah.
In terms of the series, I think my favorite, and I know it's probably like I'm the only one that it's my favorite, but our Pirates and Pipe Tobacco series. Because I know, like, of everything we do, that's probably the most tangential. Like it's all the way out on the rim.
It kind of gives you an opportunity just to indulge.
Yeah.
Like indulge. You're like, well, that's related, right?
No, it was during that era. Tobacco was a big part of the trade that the Pirates were going after.
That's fair. Yeah.
And also, hopefully, we've been able to expose a little bit of history in an area that people might not otherwise kind of consider.
Yeah, sure.
As it relates to the theft. We talk so much about the production of pipe tobacco, but the actual theft and the industry of crime that surrounded pipe tobacco.
Yeah, no, that's
on
true.
The high seas.
Yeah, piracy.
Yeah. And so we've had some great episodes with Benjamin Hornigold and most recently Sir Walter Raleigh.
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 Raleigh. Yes,
right.
Yes, the Sea Dogs. The Sea Dogs. It was a great episode. That was a great.
That was his baptized name, Raleigh.
Well, man, of course, the great thing is that over the course of the show, we've also had the opportunity to not just record at the shop, but also go on location at some various points in time and some various events. The New Orleans Pipe Show, rest in peace. I wish it would come back.
I know, man. Gosh, so many people do.
That was such a great show for us, and it was kind of a game changer. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time we'd actually recorded a show in a separate location, other than in kind of a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Also, the Texas Pipe Show, Chicago Pipe Show. We've done the Live from the Cigar Factory in New Orleans, which was a lot of fun.
Yep.
We've done, a couple Live from the Squires. We were, sharing with our live audience here.
Yeah, we actually invited folks to come in and enjoy that with us.
That's right. I think we did that for episode 200, if I'm not mistaken, was probably the last time that we.
I think so.
We did that.
Man, that's what 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it was 100 weeks ago.
Shut up.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's been multiple long smoke competitions as well. And you know,
or that was a polarizing thing because we got hate mail. That it's a slow smoke.
oh yeah, come
Yeah.
on, that we did not get hate mail.
Well,
There were opinions.
there were opinions.
It's the pipe community. There are opinions out there.
What you mean is that kind of tamper? Yeah.
But man, we actually we're right here. We're doing this right now, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We're actually on location today.
Yeah, this is really special
At the historic Missouri Meerschaum company. Now, of course, this is around that time of show where I make this like grand transition.
That's right.
Where I do leaps and bounds from
and generally it's pretty eloquent and relatively seamless, and
it's about 50-50. I'm pretty good about that. I live for the challenges where it's like completely out of left field. Nobody sees it's coming. And then all of a sudden we're talking about our good friends at Missouri Meerschaum.
Woo!
And actually, since we are talking about our good friends at Missouri Meerschaum, why don't we bring one of our good friends from Missouri Meerschaum on the show right now?
Yeah,
we should do that.
I think maybe we should.
I mean, if we're here, we got to make it happen.
Do we have a taker?
Phil, come on board and take over my mic.
Bo, I don't think I could ever take over your mic.
Is there small shoes to fill? No, I'm just kidding. Man, Phil, sitting here at Missouri Meerschaum with Phil Morgan, the general manager of the company, and man, brother, thank you for having us. This has been such a treat.
Oh my gosh, John David, we were delighted when you first brought up the idea, of being here, which we've actually been talking about for a while.
For quite some time now.
Yeah. And it just the fact that your 300th show and our 150th anniversary just happened to coincide. That just made it a special.
That's cool, man. We're tickled to be here, and it was so cool. Got to drive up yesterday, obviously from St. Louis, picked up Bo at the airport, and came over, had dinner with you last night, and just kind of chatted about all the things we've been able to accomplish together, and the company and the history here, and then coming in today and you showing us the entire facility, and man, this is just a real gem. And we think about Missouri Meerschaum as a American company. It's a Missouri company. It played a lot of important roles around this part of the world. I want to ask you about some of those things. First, I'd like you don't grow up thinking you're going to run a corncob pipe company. How the heck did you get here?
That's a good question. Sometimes I have to think back, and remember exactly how did I get here.
Yeah.
And actually, I was retired for a few years, and my wife and I were sitting at home, and I was looking at the local paper, and I'm a CPA as my background,
right?
And I've been retired, like I said, for a few years.
But you were living in Washington.
Yeah,
Missouri,
we were living
right?
in Washington.
So this has been home for a while.
Yeah, it has. And there was an ad in the paper for the general manager of a corncob pipe company, and I turned to my wife, Pat, and I said, Pat, how often are you going to get the chance to manage a corncob pipe company? And the other things that I said to her were, heck, it's got to be fun. And the second thing was, how hard could it be?
Right.
Well, I learned how hard it could be fairly quickly, because we had some challenges. But hey, it's to get a chance to work for a company that's this old, that is this iconic, and that has a product that is, you can't get more authentic. In my mind, more authentic American, than a corncob pipe.
Absolutely.
So it's had its moments, but it's just a great place to work at, and we've got great employees. That's what. It's not just the product; it's the employees that we have too. We have a great group of employees.
Absolutely, we'll touch on that here shortly in a bit, but. Part of the amazing factor is all the hands that go on these corncob pipes every day, and the quality that produces, and it's kind of mind-boggling. But while Bo and I have been here today, Shannon, Becca, Marilyn, everyone's just taken such good care of us, and we're so thrilled. We're sitting currently in the oldest portion of the factory. Is that right?
Yeah, this was not his first building. Henry Tibby was a founder of the company, and this wasn't his first building. But this is the first one that was dedicated, to making corncob pipes.
1880s.
1883. The part of the building that we're in right now was built in 1883.
Yeah.
There's a picture on the wall that was taken in 1887 that has a horse and buggy out in front of it. And as he got more and more successful, he just kept adding on to the building, and that's how it got to be as large as it is right now.
And we're talking like, Bo took some video of this earlier, but you were gracious enough to take us through the whole factory. But this is a significant building. I mean, this is it's a large it's a large footprint for this building. Obviously, as the industry's changed over the years, you've needed various amounts of the space, but gosh, this is, at one point this thing was filled up with quite an operation. Give us an idea of, back in the heyday of pipe smoking, the 20s, the 30s. I mean, just how many corncob pipes was Missouri Meerschaum cranking out?
Yeah, that's we have 52,000 square feet here roughly, and we have about 36, 37 employees right now. Back in the heyday of pipe smoking, though, just our company alone had 125 employees, and there were several other pipe companies right across the street. Was a pipe company.
Yeah,
there were several other pipe companies here, but just our company alone at one time shipped 20 million pipes in a year.
20 million in a year.
Yeah, just our company. And keep in mind that there were probably about 12 corncob pipe companies altogether at one time. So, so it was a significant new industry when you consider the time that it started. It started in 1869. That first company that it was a brand new industry. There was no corncob pipe industry prior to 1869 and it developed, into a significant industry, and it was extremely important for the development of this area.
Yeah, I love that. Of course, in preparation for today, as we were enjoying a beer and a meal last night, we were kind of talking about that and the awesomeness of, we're celebrating Missouri Meerschaum, but we're celebrating the birth of, in some sense, American pipe making, and certainly the corncob pipe industry in itself. I mean, this is, it's phenomenal. That they're, like you said, right across the street, we had other corncob pipe manufacturers. It's so fascinating to me that all those were centered here in Washington, Missouri. So the role that the company, but also this whole area played in the pipe community. But then the role that the pipe manufacturers, particularly Missouri Meerschaum, played in developing this area. Give us kind of an idea of what that looked like.
Yeah, and that it was significant, and it was a lot more as we dug into the history, of our company, but that led us to the history of the corncob pipe industry too.
Right.
We became aware of how significant it was, not just in terms of the number of employees, but one thing in particular, that at way back when we bought our cobs from local farmers. So not only were we employing people here, but we were helping the farmers out in the area. We give them a metal ring and tell them if the cob won't fit through that ring, we'll buy it.
That we want it.
A pipe.
Oh, that's funny.
But then the other significant thing was the founder of the company was Henry Tibby. His son was Anton Tibby. One of his sons was Anton Tibby.
You mentioned these were Dutch immigrants.
Yeah, Dutch immigrants.
Okay.
And Anton Tibby was a very progressive, forward-looking individual. He had been to San Francisco. He'd been to Chicago, into St. Louis, obviously.
Yeah.
He had seen electric lights. So he came back, and the first electric in this whole area was brought here to run the corncob pipe company.
The factory itself is the reason that electricity came to Washington, Missouri.
That's exactly right. And he built a power company, a small power company, generated enough electricity that he sold it to other businesses in the area, and then eventually took it south of here to another small town called Union, Missouri.
Yeah.
So the first electric in this whole area was brought here because of the corncob pipe industry.
It's phenomenal, and of course you had mentioned other utilities like I think water as well was involved.
First telephone system in this area was brought here to the corncob pipe company and expanded to the area.
Yeah.
And Anton, much to his father's dismay, built a really nice, big brick home for his dad.
Yeah, it's still standing.
It's
correct?
still standing.
Yeah,
It's still in town, and he had a windmill next to it to pump water. So he pumped water not just into his dad's house, but into the area. So the first distributed water system in the area was because of the corncob pipe factory here.
That's so great. Yeah, you think about this is this is a Missouri company. I mean, it is. It speaks to the history of this state and is a part of the fabric of this state. And so it is American. It's an American icon, but it's also an important part of the development of the area we're sitting in. And a lot of folks don't realize. I mean, you guys own your own farm. You grow the corn that you're making these pipes out of, and it's just right across the river. It's right there.
Yeah, we have 150 acres across the river and west of here a little bit in the Missouri River bottoms, one of the most fertile areas in the whole country.
Yeah,
and so we have that 150 acres, and we have to grow our own corn for a couple reasons. That we are the only ones that have the variety of corn to make a corn cob pipe.
Yeah,
it's a special hybrid just for that purpose.
It's got to be a significant cob to turn a pipe,
right? And you saw that today, down in the plant.
Oh, it's tremendous.
That you do have to have the diameter of the cob has to be significant,
has to be big.
But the other reason that we do it is we have to harvest our corn ourselves, because most farmers, when they harvest corn, the combine picks the ear, shells it,
right,
and then chops the cob up and puts it back out on the field. Well, obviously that doesn't work for us. We have to.
You're not interested in the corn. You want the cob.
Yeah. I will say we're not interested.
No, that's right. You sell that corn.
Yeah. We make whiskey out of it.
That's right.
Not us.
That's right. That's right.
So we harvested ourselves for that reason. So, and then bring the cobs over here to store them for a couple of years, to dry and store for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's amazing. We obviously were fortunate enough to take a tour of the facility, and you go upstairs in this huge building that takes up several city blocks, and there are mounds and mounds of corn cobs that have just been procured and then put up there to dry, just so they can age. The amount of work and activity that goes into producing these things, both time, people think in their minds like, oh, we talked earlier, oh, it's a corn cob pipe. You go out there, you shuck the corn off of it, and you chop it up in a piece, drill a hole, stick a stem in it, and you're done. No.
Oh no,
I mean, no. It's amazing to me
that people just don't realize, and
they don't have a clue
how the processes that are involved in it, and all the hands-on craftsmanship that goes into these pipes.
Every single
and that's
piece.
Why I'm so proud of the employees. They care about what they're doing. They realize the role they play in the pipe community.
Yeah.
And our mission from the very beginning, our mission has been to make great smoking pipes that anybody can afford.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly, that's still our mission. And we're going to continue. We've done it for 150 years and hopefully do it for another 150.
It's incredible to me. Speaking with Shannon earlier, it's like, the price, the recommended MSRP of some of these pipes is less than $7 or, whatever. But every one of these pipes at some point had people's hands all over it, making sure not just the construction of it, the quality control and all these things. A lot of these pipes are hand painted. You said about almost half your pipes are actually turned on a lathe.
Yeah,
people don't know that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
No, it is. The half of our pipes are made on what we call turning machines that we patented back in the 1930s. But the other half, and more as it seems like people are gravitating more toward a little bit larger pipe,
sure,
or a little bit different, like the Bulldog, a little different pipe,
and
that requires a lot of handwork and a lot of lathe work. And the guys that are on the lathe, I mean, they're proud of what they do,
and should be,
and they're good at it.
Yeah,
and they can tell when each cob is different. That's why if you put take the Country Gentleman, for instance, which was one of our most popular pipes.
Sure,
if you put a bunch of them side by side, they look similar, but you can tell differences in every single one of them.
Yeah.
Part of that's because of the cob, and part of it is because it's a human being making that. That's
exactly right.
Hand cutting that.
It's amazing when you see of course, so much of this plaster material is put on the pipe. It has to be sanded off, and in some cases put back on the pipe.
Right.
And every bit of that is hand done. And the reason for that is because every little part of that changes the characteristic of that piece. It's something a machine cannot do.
No,
it's impossible.
Just for instance, as you saw, just applying the plaster to it. I mean, literally, they're mixing plaster in a bowl and taking a handful of it and putting it has the cob is on the spindle and
That's
it's
right.
turning, but you have to be able to feel that to know that you've got enough plaster in there.
A human hand has to touch it.
Yes, yeah,
has
absolutely.
to. Yeah.
There's just no way that you could automate that and make sure that has enough plaster in it.
Yeah. It is. There's artistry involved at almost every single piece of it, and we got to meet the folks that are doing every part of it. You know, from when it comes in, off the truck, and the cobs are being sliced into various sizes. The plaster is being applied. The drill holes are being cut for the hardwood plugs and the stems, which the shank of the pipe, which are referred to here as stems, and applying the plaster, sanding it off, all the lathe work if that's necessary. The guy that we love those black finishes. We've got here one of the wizard pipes. I think this is a wizard pipe, and the black finishes that kind of adorn the outside of some of these bowls, and that a human painted that on there. A very talented human painted that on there.
Yeah,
and then had to work to get it just the right hue, and that's very deliberate.
Yes, it is, and actually, that's an elf.
This is an elf.
The wizard is quite a bit bigger than that.
Okay.
But you're right though that the dark on there is hand painted onto the natural cob first.
Yeah.
And then the plaster applied, sanded, then it applied again, the dark stain applied again, and then more plaster, sanded again. I mean, there's several steps that go into making the pipe look like that.
And a pipe like this, retails for, under $25.
Yeah.
I mean, and in some cases you're getting pipes with all the same craftsmanship that are well under $10. So it's awesome to me, and I love what you do, and it is something to be proud of. Why do you think, corncob pipes have began to be popular and are still popular? What do you attribute that to?
Oh, there's a couple basic reasons, I think, and that number one, they're inexpensive. I mean, we can't ignore the fact.
Sure.
Even with all the work that goes into it, there's still, a relatively inexpensive pipe. That certainly helps. The other thing I believe is that they smoke well. If the cob if it's a good cob and has aged well, they're going to smoke as well as any other pipe.
Yeah.
And I think people recognize that, the quality you get, the smokability you get at an inexpensive price. I think the other thing though that is maybe more subjective is it's just the idea of a corncob pipe.
We have to acknowledge that, don't we?
It's a corncob. I mean, you don't get more American than corn in particular, because corn was hybridized by the Native Americans to become what it is. I mean, this is a unique American raw material and a unique and authentic, original, iconic Missouri and American product. And I think people, I know I gravitate toward it. I like that part of it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do.
And they should. It's a lot of fun. You mentioned we were going up in your shipping location earlier, and there were all these boxes labeled different countries, sending these mounds of cobs to places like Germany, Australia, all over the world. And I think you even had one from, was it Hungary?
Romania.
Hungary, because that's a country. Romania, yeah. I'm inventing new countries. Imagine that. And we lost all our listeners in Hungary. No, we had a Romania box up there, but and you said a lot of these European smokers, they say that they think, well, no. And I think of an American, a traditional kind of, I'm thinking of that cob smoker sitting on their front porch, and there's something about that, right?
There is. And that's the reason the rocking chairs that we have here in
that we're sitting in now. Yeah.
That we're sitting in now. The reason that these are here, first of all, they're a great addition to the museum and people love them.
Yeah.
But the reason that they're here is when the BBC was coming over, they wanted to do a film here. They were doing Trains Across America, and they asked us to please have some rocking chairs, because the people in England, when they think of an American smoking a pipe, they think they're in a rocking chair on their front porch. So that's
they need a hound dog and some hayseed sticking out of their mouth. Yeah.
And a mason jar full of moonshine.
And a mason jar full of cat whiskey. Yeah. That's exactly right. No, that's great. Tell folks, that are listening that want to come, they hear us talk about Missouri Meerschaum every week and want to support y'all and maybe want to come see what's going on here.
Sure.
Tell them what they experience when they come to Washington, and about the space we're sitting in.
Well, when they come to Washington, first of all, as you have pointed out, Washington is a great old river town.
Awesome. Awesome. Reminds me a lot of Vicksburg, Mississippi,
Yeah,
which we mentioned last night.
Yeah. And it's a nice looking little town, most by and large, taken care of very well. There's a lot of old buildings still here that are being used, for something. So it's a great looking little town. It's right on the river. It's scenic. So there's that part of it. Washington itself,
it's its own destination.
Is a great destination to come to. But then here, again, it's going back into the history. When you understand the role that the corncob pipe industry played to come here, and they're going to experience history. You walk into this space and you see an old elevator mechanism, belt-driven elevator system, on the hanging from the ceiling. You see the old style electric wires, still across. They're not live, by the way, but
I'm sure the fire marshal appreciates that. Yeah,
going across the ceiling. It's just it's a step back in time. I mean, I tell people, if you come here and you go through the plant, especially, get ready to step back into the 1930s, because that's awesome. That's what it feels like.
And of course, your front gift shop area also doubles as a museum, and it's significant. You've only within the past several years been digging into the archives of a place this storied, and we are surrounded by memorabilia. You've got behind us on the top part of the wall the very, very large display of corncob pipes that was on show at the World's Fair in St. Louis in 1904?
1904,
I think, and it won a prize there. Some of the cobs on that board actually have bone stems, which is just so interesting to me. Behind us in cases are letters from people like Norman Rockwell bragging about their Missouri Meerschaum. Douglas MacArthur. You've got pieces that I saw a Cavalier church corncob pipe over there. It's like I didn't even know you could do that. It's just surrounded by all this history. It's pretty
and
fantastic.
that pipe, the Cavalier pipe, is probably from the 1880s, late 1880s.
It's just amazing.
So there's a lot of history, and a lot of the old journals and old books, that we have in our safes here, that we have displayed out here for people to see too.
Yeah.
So,
well, real quick, why is this company called Missouri Meerschaum?
We get asked that question a lot, and as most people know, Meerschaum, the word is German. It means sea foam, and all of people who are in the pipe community know what real Meerschaum is those white ornately carved pipes that you see.
That's right.
That's true Meerschaum. It's a rock that comes from Turkey that's very porous and can be carved very easily. Beautiful pipes, and they generally are thought to be a cool smoking pipe.
That's
too.
right. Yeah.
Well, when Henry Tibby, the founder of our company, first started making corncob pipes, at early on, he decided it needs to be coated with something. So they settled on plaster of Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, just plain old white plaster, which is exactly what we still use.
Yeah.
And so he coated the pipe with plaster of Paris. It kind of made it look white.
Had that white sheen to it.
And white sheen to it. And he and his brother Fritz looked at it and said, "Oh, that kind of looks like a Meerschaum. Let's call it Missouri Meerschaum."
Yeah.
So that's where the name. It's an 1870s version of marketing, I guess. And that's where the name has come from. And the other reason too, I think, is that a lot of people think a corncob pipe smokes cool. Personally, I think that still depends on how a person smokes a pipe
and what they're smoking
and what they're smoking
right.
too. But a lot of people think they smoke cool like a Meerschaum. So that's why the name is Missouri Meerschaum, and it has been that since the 1870s, actually, since about 1872.
That's great.
Has stuck with it the whole time. And in the pipe community, if you mention Missouri Meerschaum, 99% of the people know you're talking about a corncob pipe.
A corncob pipe, right?
Yeah,
right. No, that's right. Well, man, just wrapping up. Obviously, thank you for having us. This is a momentous year for not just the company, but also this area. And I'm glad we were able to kind of speak to that a little bit. You've got a lot of events going through the year. I know Shannon's planning some of that stuff. And tell us kind of what you've done already, and then what's coming for the rest of the year, kind of. To mark this, special occasion.
Yeah, what we decided to do for the celebration is to have two different celebrations that we invite people in. We just had one in April, more for the local community, to come in, and because it's been a long time since anybody was able to come in here and actually go on a tour through the factory.
Yeah.
So we in April we had an open house that involved tours through the factory, and then on Saturday, the weekend that we had it on Saturday, we had live music and drinks and food up at the farmers market, which is right up the hill from us.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that again in October. It's October 11th and 12th, which is a Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
And we'll have tours, through the factory again. And people, I think, love that just for the reason you did, because they just don't know until you see it.
They don't
just
get it.
Don't understand it.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you've got to come to that if you're able.
And
to.
then on that Saturday, we'll have live music again, and food and drink, and we've invited some of the pipe tobacco companies to be here, and 2 of them have committed to being here.
Good.
Which will be great. So the October event, we are trying to gear it or target it more toward the pipe clubs and the pipe smoking community.
That's good.
Although the anybody's still welcome. On that weekend too.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good. Well, man, so many great things on the horizon. 150 years. And we're just thrilled that all the history that we've got to look back on, but also the new stuff to look forward to. Speaking of that, we're sitting here smoking these 150-year Bulldog anniversary pipes. You had a lot of pressure over the years to get to bring a Bulldog back, didn't you?
We did. We get not a week would go by without somebody either posting or emailing us directly and saying, you got to bring the Bulldog back. But,
and it's a hard pipe to make.
It's
right?
a difficult pipe to make, and as we talked earlier, I think we found out the reason that we quit making them because they're a difficult pipe to make and to make well. To make with
to
quality.
The standards you're committed to.
Yeah, and I had said all along that we did not want to bring it back until we knew that we could bring it back at a quality level
and do
that
it right.
would be accepted.
Yeah,
and we're still working. We're going to be this is one of them. We intend to have 3 different Bulldogs during the year, or a series of them. We'll have one hopefully in midsummer and then one in the fall. So I think we'll be getting better and better at it as we move
as it's refined and goes on. Do you anticipate one or all of those shapes sticking around, or are they limited edition, or have you decided?
We really haven't decided yet. I would love to have one that we keep, because it is a popular pipe. And I think our goal is to have one that we keep, and if not keep on a continual basis, at least every year to have a limited edition,
kind of a small run,
a small run of them, so so people can get one.
That's good.
Them.
Will you put one aside for me?
I definitely will. Definitely will.
No, that's great, man. We're just completely impressed and honored, of course, to be here, and so thankful you got to hop on with us and talk about all this. So, man, Phil, thanks for coming on. We're going to talk about we have a tradition, obviously, on Country Squire Radio of abusing each other with pipe questions and quickfire questions and all that kind of thing. And so, since we've captured you behind the mic, we're going to make you do that with us today.
Great.
And aren't you thrilled?
I am.
No, it's great, man. So thanks again, Phil, for coming on. And
thank you guys for coming.
Dude,
it's been an honor to have you guys here.
Absolutely. And obviously, we thank Missouri Meerschaum every single week when we do our show for being a part of what we do. But it means that much more to do it live, to do it in person. And we don't lend our name to just any company. We do it with folks that we believe in and are excited to be a part of their story, and we're grateful for y'all. So
we appreciate that, and we feel the same way.
It's wonderful. You probably will have to fumigate this room when Bo and I leave here with all the hot air, but and it'll return to its quaint, wonderful place to come, and we encourage everyone to make the trip. So, all right. So, pipe question of the week. This week comes from Nick Blackwell, and this is from Phil. No, this is for Phil, and it's from Nick Blackwell. And eventually, I'll get this right. Nick asks, "What are your favorite Missouri Meerschaum models?"
Well, obviously, you pointed this out earlier. That would be like picking your favorite kid.
Picking which of your favorite kids, right?
And,
right.
Yeah. Oh, wait. There's
Shannon raised her hand, right?
She's the only kid. So
no, that's right.
So, as she said, she's not spoiled, but she is an only child.
Right. That's right. And just to make that clear too. So Shannon, your daughter and your wife both are part of the business here. Is that right?
Shannon's here on a daily basis, and she's HR and helps out with a lot of different areas. She's been a great addition.
See her at pipe shows or around and things like that. Yeah.
And Pat, my wife, goes to the pipe shows and used to go to trade shows.
Pitches in on events and things of that nature.
So she helps out a lot with that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
so as far as picking a favorite pipe, so let's get back to Nick's question. He's I don't know. And I'm not trying to avoid the question. I don't think I could pick a favorite one. There's different ones.
I would have trouble.
It depends on the tobacco you're smoking too. You know, if you're smoking a Virginia tobacco, you know, to me the Legend is a great pipe. And if I had to say what pipe do I think is just a fantastic pipe, doesn't mean it's favorite necessarily. The Legend, you know, it's an inexpensive one. You know, retails for $7 to $10 depending on where you're going to get it.
Yeah, that's right.
But is a great quality pipe that with a decent bowl shape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that is it my favorite? No, the Country Gentleman would be, you know, awfully close. Just
it's
because,
hard to not pick it.
Oh man, the shape, a big thick bowl, you know, tall bowl, holds a lot of tobacco. Some of the cob, depending on what the day you're smoking and what you're doing. If you're sitting in a rocking chair at home on the front porch, and you can use a church warden, then one of the Cobbets is a great pipe too. So, you know, Nick, I'm not avoiding your question. It's just a hard one to answer.
No, that's right. I was thinking about it, you know, as well, just from my own perspective. It'd be hard to answer. I really like the Huck Finn. I like the proportions of the Huck Finn and the bowl size. It's just a really nice, kind of slender, you know, felt shape that holds just the right amount of tobacco. But there again, we talked about, man, I saw the Great Dane spindle earlier today. Hadn't seen it in a while, and I was like, man, why don't I smoke that pipe all the time? That's it fits so nicely in your hand, and you know, just so many good shapes. Of course, the 150th Bulldog I've smoked several times this week. I bought it in Chicago, actually. It's new to me, and have really enjoyed it since then. I smoked it even on the way up here. So, so good. Quick fire questions.
Yay.
That was fantastic. Yeah. Quick fire question. Ow! Quick fire questions today. We're so excited. This come from Dan Sanford, and Dan brings us several corn related quick fire questions, which I think is very appropriate. So Phil and I both are going to answer these. I'll let Phil go first. Sweet corn or buttered and salted corn?
Oh, why can't it be sweet corn that's buttered and salted?
I kind of tend to agree.
I would combine the two of them. It would be sweet corn buttered and salted.
Yeah. If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably lean towards the salt and pepper. You know, is good. Maybe corn on the grill or something like that. Yeah. I mean, you want a sweet corn anyway, right? The corn you want it to be
that's
sweet.
That's what I do to sweet corn. Is butter and salt.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it doesn't last long. That's it. Corn on the cob or kernel corn?
Corn on the cob's more fun.
Yeah.
Corn on the cob
requires more dental floss.
Yeah. It does, and it's just it's I don't know. It's more fun. It seems like the events that you eat corn on the cob at are generally
folks grilling out,
you're
4th of July,
barbecued or whatever, and just so corn on the cob.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Cream corn or hominy?
Oh. For me, hominy.
I like hominy.
I really like hominy.
Yep.
Don't get it often, but I really like it. And what's interesting, I'm just reading a book about corn that's is interesting concerning hominy. More of the nutrients in corn are released when you take it through the process to make hominy.
I just love the fact that Phil admitted openly that he's reading a book on corn. and he has a professional excuse for it, and it's just wonderful to me. I feel it. Yeah, all the pieces of me that appreciate you have grown in so many ways. It's wonderful. All right, finally, movie Children of the Corn or the band Corn? Which one? Do you know there's a band named Corn? There's a band named Corn. And you know, I just really don't peg you as one of their.
I've been advised by a professional not to pick the band.
All right,
Corn,
so we're gonna go with Children of the Corn,
the
the movie. Then no,
yes,
no, that's fair. Dude, well, man, thank you so much for being a good sport and man, coming on. Of course, having Bo and I here at Missouri Meerschaum, and even if we mispronounce the name half the time, thank you, Bo. And man, are just so thrilled to be a part of all this. And man, wish you well. Wish you and your family well, but also the company and this part of Missouri that is so beautiful. So thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, John Dave. Thanks for you guys being here. Yeah. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
And I'll turn this mic over to Bo.
Yep. You can swivel it out if you need to get out.
The beauty of editing.
See, Phil gets to escape the stupid like boxers or briefs questions.
Yeah.
Or,
well, yeah.
You know, like we didn't abuse. He got to answer questions about corn.
I was about to say, if you're gonna talk corn, you got to have an expert. Can we give it a round of applause for Phil?
Yeah,
we gotta make that happen.
Absolutely.
You know, we honestly, without you, there would be no us at this point. We just really want to thank the good folks here at Missouri Meerschaum. And
Meerschaum.
I got to say, in terms of mispronouncing names, it's a hallmark of the show.
So. Oh, it is. It is. We want to be authentic.
Absolutely. Well, man, great interview. Also, you know, once again, big thanks to Missouri Meerschaum and the amazing tour. You know, y'all talked about a lot, but I mean, going downstairs, like seeing the production here is just unbelievable.
I've never seen so many corn cobs in my life.
If you've never been, it's true.
I have never seen so. Well, you had that Scrooge McDuck moment.
I made a comment on it on the little live stream that we did, but but like you really do feel like Scrooge McDuck would like dive through the corn cobs and just be swimming back and forth.
Hey, there's that many. It's mind-boggling.
And admittedly, I was tempted to myself, to be honest with you. But one way or the other, it's amazing.
He would have to throw all those out.
Oh man! All right, so you know, here we are at our 300th episode, and you know, we've gotten so many great episodes behind us, as we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show. We've got so many great series out there.
Yeah.
But as I kind of teased out, you know, there's been some times, John David, where I have presented concepts to you, and you have vehemently shot them down.
Yeah, some of them I think we burned and buried in the backyard somewhere.
Yeah, that's about right. All right, now this one I think is kind of fun because every once in a while it was kind of like a half joke, half serious concept, but it was a Country Squire Radio vinyl exclusive. So the idea was that it was going to be, hang on, don't shake your head. The idea was
so much ignorance.
There would be a exclusive Country Squire Radio episode that you could only get on vinyl, but that would be side A, and the other side B would be music produced from individuals in the pipe world who have also kind of music skills and that sort of thing.
No, that's right.
Who had expressed interest in doing a project something like this. I still think it's a fun idea.
What sucker agreed to that?
I'm not naming names.
Okay.
Is Pete listening? I'm not naming names. I'm not naming
names.
Is
Pete Prevost listening?
No,
right.
But no, I still think that's kind of an interesting idea. And given the fact that nobody just bust out laughing, everybody in here was like, huh, that's about where I'm at too with that. Interesting.
Oh, that's good.
All right. So Country Squire Radio vinyl. That never made it past the John David stamp of approval.
Right.
All right. The next one is okay. Now this was a long time ago. I had this concept for a spin-off Country Squire Radio show that was going to be on the art of storytelling. And the idea was that, you know, we've got so many, you know, storytellers who have been pipe smokers and that sort of thing. And also
I forgot about this.
Yeah. And so the idea was that, like, you know, we were going to kind of take the concept of sitting around smoking pipes and thinking about stories and perhaps even coming up with our own unique story, legend, or whatever. And I wanted to be it was very meta. And this is before meta was like in podcasting.
Right.
Yeah. But the idea was that it was going to be about the story of how a story is created.
Yeah.
And so I remember even recording myself going to the Squire to pitch you on the idea. and you shot it down so hard. I immediately deleted myself recording myself and never went back to it again. You're just like, Bo, no. Like,
we ain't gonna do that.
I can't do that. I was like, oh, okay.
You know, it's so funny because now you mentioned something like that, and man, what a beautiful idea,
right?
Right? Like, I mean, what an interesting, beautiful idea. That
where were you then?
That I think maybe you should, I think you should find someone else to do that.
No,
podcast
it had to
with.
be you.
But yeah, our friend David over here would probably love that.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
or
true.
Phil's reading something about corn.
Well, you know what? There you go.
Right.
That's we could create a new Children of the Corn.
No, that's right.
But they're actual corn children, and never mind. So there's that. We also, there was one that I still like the idea of, but it kind of ended in an era. It was of an era. It's an idea of an era, and it was back before you bought the shop,
right?
And at that time, it was kind of the Wild West, the early days of Country Squire Radio. You know, we were kind of finding our legs. We had some pretty good traction. We had Tim the Intern. It was the days of Tim the Intern.
Oh, that's right, man.
For those that
remember, I miss him.
Tim the then apprentice, but I think this was back when he was the intern.
Yeah, before he got promoted.
Yeah. And also, of course, Kim was there. Kim, who
was my boss, owned the shop, Mrs. Reeves' daughter.
That's right. And so I had this idea for a reality YouTube series, kind of in the style.
Oh, I remember this well.
Yeah. Kind of in the style like a Duck Dynasty, comic book men type deal, which was gonna be like, because you had all these interesting personalities. You in and of yourself, interesting personality, but you get Kim and Tim and me in there, and it's like it's just an interesting little kind of pseudo family.
Well, I mean, and not to say all the scoundrels that come in that shop every day.
And so that's the thing. You'd have kind of the four core, but then you'd always have like Steve, these
Kramer guys coming in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, but then you'd also be like, somebody would come in and they would want to like sell their pipe or something like that, or buy a pipe, and you kind of do a deep dive into like the church warden pipe, and you kind of unpack that and kind of take essentially what we try to do with our show, which is kind of that infotainment, kind of diving into like the deep art of the pipe, the history and that sort of thing.
Sure,
but do it in kind of that reality TV style,
like the Pawn Stars episode where I have to call a corncob pipe expert in to come value this thing. Right?
Exactly like that. Exactly.
Well, I got a guy for that. He just happens to be down the street. And
But then Tim left, and you bought the shop, and so Kim's got it was an of the era idea. I still think that Country Squire Radio making the transition to some sort of visual format, not just YouTube, but in more of a scripted's the wrong word. Intentional.
Our faces are for radio, man. I think that's apparent.
Well, that might be true. That might be true. Do you remember any other ideas that I came up with, or that we kind of kicked around that never saw the light of day?
I really don't, to be honest with you. There are, you have pushed a lot more like the shape episodes that we do.
That's true. Well, our listeners do too.
And our listeners really like that. And I always shy away from doing those episodes because it's so difficult for me to describe these shapes on audio. and so, but for some reason folks have really enjoyed those and really connected with those, and so it's been positive, but it's something that I kind of it's on the lower part of my favorites list, probably because I just have trouble with that. Obviously some of my favorite things that we do are when we nerd out about specific tobaccos, right? We talk about those Pipe 101 episodes, tobacco reviews. Man, those are fun. Those are fun for me because I get to dive in. So
okay, all right, no, that's good.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because there is one particular type of show that I feel like we keep going back to, in the sense that we keep talking about it, but you keep shooting it
Lord
down.
have mercy.
No, I'm not going to mention it. See, that's the thing. I feel like at this point, if I was to mention it, that's how this show is for like the dedicated listener. The 300th episode is because I'm not even going to say what it is, and you already know what it is. That's what I'm talking about right there. Man.
It's said show, unsaid show.
Yeah, the show that shall not be said.
That shall not be said is so shameless and so self-serving and
that's right. So delicious.
Do you even eat ribs?
No.
I mean, anyway, I don't know, Bo. It's one of our listeners said, it's like it'd be like jumping the shark. The Fonzie's getting on his skis and he's gonna jump the sharks, and it's like
and then pulling the shark out and then gutting the shark and then slapping on some sauce and then throwing it on the ribs and then pairing up some tobacco with it. It'd be exactly
some
like that.
Tony Chachere's. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
I don't see it in our future.
All right.
I just don't.
Fair enough. Well, we do.
I would be honored to. I would love to come to Houston someday and get some delicious Texas barbecue with you, but I don't see that in our future.
All right. Well, there is some great things that are in our future, man. We've got some great shows coming up. Next week we've got a kind of a second episode from the Chicago Pipe Show.
Yeah,
and actually the long-awaited health episode. That's been one that people have been asking for the longest time.
Who would have thought? But man, that worked out
great
so.
Doctor,
so great. Yeah. Lewis, who is a good friend of ours in the pipe community, listener for a long time. He's a fixture at the Chicago show. And I always look forward. Him and Jeremy Feliciano, both, if you're in Briar Nation on Friend Face, you'll know those guys. But they're kind of my running buddies when I'm up there, and I'm their redneck friend that they let hang out with them just so I can feel like I'm important. And but Lewis, he happens to be a dental professional. He is a endodontist, which I learned what that was. But anyway, has a lot of nice, good things, helpful things to say about pipe smoking and dental oral health. And so we'll talk about that next week and have a couple other of small interviews as well.
We also have in the following weeks too, man. We've got a Squire Select that I'm really excited for, not just because I'm always excited for Squire Selects,
right,
but also because we'll actually be debuting a song from Cody DeWint.
DeWint?
DeWint, Cody DeWint, yeah, club member.
So I got to meet Cody when I was in Chicago. That was great. Yep.
He's got a song, man, a single called "Me and the Whiskey," which he sent it in just like, hey, you thought you might like this. I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to play this on the next stuff. Like, it's fantastic.
Yep.
And so
Cody shared some boodles with me when we were in Chicago and got to hear some of his musical stuff, learn about his story. So I'm looking forward to that.
And if you want your music played on this podcast, just send in the boodles, and that's how it happens. Just kidding. Had no clue that he did that, but it's a fantastic song. Can't wait to share that. We've got a Heroes of the Bowl episode dedicated to Tolkien. So we're actually going to be doing a Heroes of the Bowl on Tolkien. There was a biopic that just recently released.
Yeah.
And so, we thought this would be a good time to do that one. We are going to have a return of the Pipe Shop Fails episode. So Pipe Shop Fails episode 4.
The material just keeps coming in.
It just keeps coming
every single day.
The funny thing is, I think we've done it on an annual basis at this point, because we do try to there's a tone there that obviously, as we discussed earlier, everybody loves. But I think part of the reason why everybody loves it is because we're not all the time like that.
Yeah, so I think that's probably
it's
right.
Special, and it's coming. Man, pipe culture. We're going to continue our Pipe Culture Places episode with a discussion on the porch.
We're talking about the porch.
Yeah,
yep.
Which is going to be really, really great. In fact, go ahead and get your thoughts in on that. And then I'll go ahead and tease up as well. After we do the porch, we're also going to do a pipe culture episode coming down the line on the pipe chair, the smoking chair.
Yeah, your smoking chair
as a place. As someone who has recently moved and have been trying to furnish a new house and everything, I wanted a chair.
That's been a thoughtful thing for you.
I was like, man, this is a whole smoking chair mindset. And there's a lot of different varieties out there. So we'll be doing that one as well. And then finally, I know I'm probably the only one,
speaking of self-serving,
that cares about this, but we'll be doing a Pirates and Pipe Tobacco episode on Captain Kidd, often displayed whenever you see him holding a clay pipe. And so, and also a very great historic privateer who was kind of betrayed by the New York government and potentially sent to death when he shouldn't have been.
Okay.
But I mean, again, pirate, so
yeah,
maybe he was. But we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode as well. Man, with 300 episodes behind us, we'd be remiss if we did not mention, put out some special thanks to some individuals, all of y'all who have been listening, who've been tuning in, who've been are able to show up. Y'all are the reason why this show has happened, continues to happen, will continue to happen. It is because of you that we are here and doing this. And we just want to say to all of you, thank you so much, because we couldn't do it without you.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, throughout the history, there've been a lot of different individuals who've kind of, stepped up and helped in some different ways. So we do want to kind of give a shout out to, of course, Pylorns, our iconic pipe mic. That was Pylorns. We working with him and kind of figure out what would be a good rallying symbol for the podcast.
James, of course, is a force within himself in the pipe community. He's has a different professional job, but he spends so much time in the pipe community. You would think he actually in his own right is a licensed tobacconist, which is so impressive. But James is who goes by Pylorns on various forums and on Twitter, has been such a just a help and encouragement to us, and just a dear friend. So and of course developed our beautiful logo, which we love and people recognize all over.
Do you remember? I mean, this is worth mentioning real quick. Do you remember our original logo, our original album art?
Yeah.
Were any of y'all there for like the original album art?
That's going way back.
All right, so I'm seeing some nodding, but what do you think the original album art was? Okay. So all right, so we went through a couple of iterations.
Yep.
The one that we had for the longest time was I took a picture of like a pipe bowl that was kind of spilled over with tobacco coming out of it. So it was like a super zoomed in.
You did that like in your backyard or something?
Yeah, that sounds right. And then it had kind of some orange stripes on it and said Country Squire Radio. So that was for the longest time before we switched to the pipe mic.
Right.
But for like 10 episodes, like the first 10 episodes, you had this image that you had taken. Somebody had done like this Tolkien like leaf drawing, and you had like spread out some of your Tolkien blended tobacco around it.
Yeah.
You remember what I'm talking about now?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I tell you like this was a trash album art, like the font that we used is that chalk font like, that not even kindergarten teachers would use. Like it was bad. It was so bad.
I think Microsoft discontinued that font.
Unfortunately, no. But yes, I mean, like it's really bad.
At least it wasn't Comic Sans. Yeah,
I think, and I could be wrong here. But when we released the first 100 episodes as a Patreon exclusive, I think the album art is that old trash album art. And if you go on our Facebook page and go back to the profile pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about.
It's so terrible.
Worth jumping back there. Pylorn saved us and helping us come up
anyway,
with
James, thank you, man. And of course, all your friends in the Austin area too.
We also got to give a big shout out to, of course, Mark VV, always dedicated, always popping up. And for a while there, he was also doing, running show notes for us and everything.
That's right.
else.
That's right.
Anytime that we've needed anything, he's like coming up with ways he can help even before we can.
So. Mark, of course, lives just outside of New Orleans with his beautiful wife and daughter, and they are such good friends, and we have no greater supporter and listener and friend and just dedicated enthusiast other than Mark Van Vranken, and we're so thankful for you, Mark, too. We really are, and man, I'm glad that my wife and myself have gotten to know you and your family, and man, it's just look forward to many years of brotherhood. Yep.
We also, about a year, actually, it's been longer than that, hasn't it? A couple years ago, we brought on an editor to help with the show, and so Mike, our editor, who has done a fantastic job making sure that we sound professional despite ourselves. It's
a feat.
It is a feat. And live listeners know Mike well because we'll give shout outs like, oh, cut that mic or something of that nature.
Right.
And even Brian Levine, who of course we also need to mention as well.
That's right. Absolutely.
As kind of the pod or the podfather of the
podcasting
realm.
Yep.
Brian also says like whenever we're talking or we're planning like an event together or a show, it's like, yeah, well, I don't have a mic.
Right. Exactly. Right.
And so like, talk to Mike. He does great work.
Yeah, he's for hire.
He does fantastic work. But yeah, got to make mention, of course, Brian Levine, who did pop in. I saw on the live chat. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Hey, Brian.
Yeah,
man, I'm glad you joined us, brother.
So we're just celebrating 300. We'll be looking for your 400th next week. I think that's about right. And then of course, we've already mentioned, but it is definitely worth mentioning again. Missouri Meerschaum, we would not be able to do the podcast.
Yeah.
You guys, y'all took a chance on us. Y'all believed in us and saw the vision of what we were trying to do. And it has really fueled us in a big way. And so we want to thank y'all especially.
Yeah.
And then of course, man, being the fact that we are here, tonight we've got a great meetup that's going on.
We're going to meet up. Yeah.
We got to give a shout out to, of course, David Weinberg, who's actually sitting with us right now.
Here joining us right now. Yep.
And the Viking Pipe Club out here in the St. Louis area as well.
Yep.
We got a fun hangout, which is really, really great because we wouldn't without you. So thank you for that. I'm not going to say that somebody dropped the ball on that, but thank you. Thank you so much for stepping up and helping in a big way. But again,
absolutely,
all of y'all, without y'all, there is no us.
I do want to mention one other group of people that have honored us tremendously.
Yes.
And actually David is one of these people as well. But these are the people that have driven hundreds and hundreds of miles and come literally from other continents to visit us in little sleepy Jackson, Mississippi. And it blows my mind. The pipe pilgrims that developed at a very early stage and have carried on, that keep going. And man, there is no greater honor than the folks that have put down literally, their time and money, taking days off work, hundreds of miles road trips with their friends, folks that have literally planned, their week-long trip across the United States and included our dusty little hamlet as a stop. And man, I am just I am honored by that, and there's no greater joy than literally, when one of you guys walks in unannounced and being able to put down what I've got to do that day to spend time with you. That is a real treat, and I want all the folks that have done that to know just how much that means to us.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, it's really special.
We got to tack on one more group of people that honestly, like, probably deserve more praise than everybody put together. Our wives. We love y'all, Christina and Nina. If not for y'all, your patience, your understanding, your patience, your grace, long suffering. Getting text messages from my wife yesterday, which was Mother's Day, while you and I were chilling out drinking here in St. Louis. Right. Hearing the horror stories back home. Love you, babe. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yep. We're so grateful for their support, man, and glad y'all have gotten to be part of my life as I've found my spouse and now got one on the way. And anyway,
you got a spouse on the way? What?
Yeah. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Nina's watching live.
I hope so, man. But anyway, we're thankful for you too. Yeah.
All right. So of course, we want to let you guys know, by the way, if you would like to support the show in a big way, a great way to do it is heading over to patreon.com/Country Squire Radio. Become a patron. Some great benefits to you. We've actually had the chance, hanging out together and everything, talking about some fun new things coming that way to folks that are supporting the show. So more on that in the future. But become a club member. We love having y'all, and we really very greatly appreciate that. Also, you can follow us throughout the week. You can follow us on the Twitters at The Real Bo York is me.
I'm at John David Cole, or you can get us at the shop at @_Country Squire.
And of course, all that and more can be found at countrysquireradio.com. John David, man, 300 episodes. This is so special on so many different levels. Being here at Missouri Meerschaum, getting a chance to see kind of a history surrounding us, to be on the floor of history itself.
Absolutely.
Of an industry that helps shape the country is incredible. Just being with you, man. I know it's been rough these last couple of weeks. Or before I moved and everything, just being in a different location. And we're like, man, it's, can we do this? And we felt fairly confident. We even, people don't know this, but we actually, we beta tested our podcast essentially and recorded a couple that some folks never even heard.
No, that's right.
On different locations, just to see if the chemistry was still there.
Yeah.
And man, it's stronger than ever.
It's so good, but there's nothing like being in the same room with your goofy self.
It really is, man. Likewise. I want you to know I love you, and I love hanging out with you, man.
Likewise, Bo. Yeah, you too, brother.
Hey, let's go have another 300.
See you, buddy.
All right, y'all are awesome.
Y'all, thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Round of applause for everybody that's here. Give
absolutely.
A round of applause.
Thank you so much for coming and
being a part of this. In and around the St. Louis area, we got a meetup tonight. All that information is on the Facebook and Twitter and everything else. Looking forward to it. And now I'm going to awkwardly crawl underneath this microphone. Or actually, I can just move it out of the way, but it's just going to look weird. There's no way to end the show where it doesn't look weird. So bye.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Boy, that is weird.